Good morning, Kuner Country. Okay, my friends, it is now one of the biggest stories in the world, and it just got bigger at the NATO summit. Trump is now in The Hague, in the Netherlands, used to be called Holland, and he had a fiery press conference where he absolutely denounced CNN, the New York Times, and the Associated Press. And here, my friends, is exactly what has happened and transpired over the last, I'd say 12 to 18 hours. It began with CNN, but it was also leaked to the AP and to the New York Times. Now, just the fact that this was leaked to all these three liberal, rabid, anti-Trump, never Trump media outlets tells you everything you need to know. And so, apparently, the intelligence community, someone inside the Pentagon bureaucracy, at the DIA, the Defense Intelligence Agency, which is the intelligence arm of the Pentagon, allegedly leaked a quote-unquote top secret intelligence report to CNN. This is CNN, the Associated Press, and of course the New York Times. The New York Times went ahead and AP and they published it, even though it's a crime, but let that go. CNN went even further. They leaked the information live during their broadcast, and this is now what they're alleging. They are now alleging that the U.S. strikes on the three nuclear facilities that Trump ordered over the weekend, on Isfahan, on Natanz, and of course the big one on Fordo, in which 14 30,000-pound bunker buster bombs were dropped in precise holes and targets, 12 on Fordo, 2 on Natanz, that they did little to no damage to Iran's nuclear capability. According to this so-called top secret intel report, the CNN, the New York Times, the Associated Press are claiming that this only set back Iran's nuclear program maybe a couple of months. That yes, it did a lot of destruction above ground, but deep underneath, hardly nothing. And that Iran now still has enriched uranium, it can still spin its centrifuges, and it can still reconstitute its nuclear weapons program, not in years, but literally in 2 to 3 months. So, what they are nakedly trying to do is they are trying to demean the president, they are trying to discredit Trump. They're claiming he's lying about the success of the airstrikes and the bombing campaign, and that in fact, Iran's nuclear weapons program has survived largely intact. And this is now an attempt to try to attack and discredit the president, a blow at his credibility. Listen now to President Trump. This was him in the White House before he even flew to the NATO summit. Roll cut 1, Mike.
I think it's been completely demolished. I think the reason we're here is because those pilots, those B-2 pilots, did an unbelievable job. And, you know, the fake news, like CNN in particular, they're trying to say, well, I agree that it was destroyed, but maybe not that destroyed. You know what they're doing? They're really hurting great pilots that put their lives in the line. CNN is scum, and so is MSDNC. They're all. And frankly, the networks aren't much better. It's all fake news, but they should not have done that. Those pilots hit their targets. Those targets were obliterated, and the pilots should be given credit. They're not after the pilots, they're after me. They want to try and demean him.
Of course. They're trying to discredit him. They're trying to demean him. They're trying to downplay the success of the operation. They don't want the American people to see what it was, which was an overwhelming, spectacular success. And so they're peddling this BS report, and I'm going to get to this in a second. And look, they're characterizing it as quote unquote top secret. Okay. CNN is, AP, the New York Slimes. Okay. The New York Times. Now, it is illegal. Literally, it's a crime to leak classified information. Never mind top secret information. And these traitors and scumbags at CNN go on the air knowing or pretending or claiming that this is top secret intel, and they just blab it to the whole world. Listen now to Trump. It's not just an attack on him. It's not just an ambush on his administration, but it's an attack on the pilots, the brave men and women in our military who pulled off one of the most effective, incredible, successful bombing operations in the history of warfare. Roll cut 1A, Mike.
Iran will never rebuild its nuclear. From there? Absolutely not. That place is under rock. That place is demolished. The B-2 pilots did their job. They did it better than anybody could even imagine. They hit late in the evening. It was dark with no moon, and they hit that target with every one of those things, and that place is gone. But when I see CNN all night long, they're trying to say, well, maybe it wasn't really as demolished as we thought. It was demolished. You take a look at the pinpricks, and you see that place is gone. And I will say, I think CNN ought to apologize to the pilots of the B-2s. I think that MSDNC ought to apologize. I think these guys really, these networks and these cable networks are real losers. You really are. You're real losers.
Yeah, of course they're real losers, but they're more than that. I'm sorry. With all due respect, Mr. President, and you know I love you in a non-sexual way. They're traitors. That's what they are. They're traitors. They're liars, they're propagandists, and they're traitors. And I want you to listen exactly. This is the moment on This is CNN. When they disclosed this alleged top secret assessment or intelligence report about the so-called non-damage inflicted by all of these bombs being dropped on Iran's 3 nuclear sites. Listen to what CNN reported live on air. Roll cut 11, Mike.
What we are told is that as of now, this Defense Intelligence Agency assessment, it does conclude at this point, again, it is still very early, that those underground facilities, including the centrifuges, including the highly enriched uranium that everyone has been talking so much about, those are largely intact. Now, of course, this does stand at odds with what President Donald Trump and Secretary of Defense Pete Hegseth have been saying in recent days about the impact of these U.S. military strikes. Of course, President Trump said it was totally obliterated, and Secretary Hegseth did as well.
So they're claiming that it wasn't a success. They're claiming that the program is pretty much intact and preserved underground, and that Trump is lying and misleading and manipulating the public. This is not what they're claiming. Okay. Here are a couple of facts, which is completely indisputable. Number one, and I'm not the only one making this argument. Trump made it. Rubio made it. J.D. Vance made it. If this was such an unsuccessful strike as this so-called top secret intelligence report claims, why did the Iranians then settle for a ceasefire? Why did the Iranians call off the war? If this barely touched them, if their nuclear weapons program is intact, why would they then agree to keep on to not fight anymore? If this war was going much better for them than everybody believed, how come they were so quick for a ceasefire? How come they were so quick to run back to the negotiating table or agree to an end to hostilities? So, number one, it defies common sense. Number two, we have the satellite pictures. We have it. So who are you going to believe? Some low-level bureaucrat, another anti-Trump deep state hack, a stabber who just wants to undermine Trump and sabotage his presidency, or your own eyes? Because the satellite pictures are crystal clear. There is nothing left of Fordo. There is nothing left of Natanz. There is nothing left of Isfahan. And by the way, that's the conclusion now of Israeli intelligence. And no one's got better eyes and ears on the ground than the Israelis. Now, as for this so-called report itself, this so-called assessment, it's literally only one report. The media, the New York Times, CNN, I read the CNN piece. It's garbage. They're trying to make it seem like it's the assessment. No. There are many other intelligence agencies. The CIA, for example, they haven't even weighed in yet. So they're taking one report, which, by the way, is an assessment that CNN hasn't even seen. It's literally been fed to them by this deep state stabber, so they don't even know what's in the document. So this deep state stabber is describing to them what's in the report, and they just blindly run with it. Okay, as the moment the lines are filled up, I'm going right to the calls. 617-266-6868. Okay, another major fake news scandal. Now they are targeting President Trump, but also our military. And they are targeting now the bombing campaign that was conducted. To me, just an absolutely historic, perfect operation. They are now claiming, based on one early assessment from a leaker in the Pentagon, that claims that from the early assessment that there may be only moderate damage done to these three nuclear facilities, and that Iran's program may have only been set back for several months. And CNN is seizing on this one report and several paragraphs in it, along with the New York Times, along with the Associated Press, to say that Trump is lying, that Hegseth is lying, that Rubio is lying, that the Trump administration is lying, and that this was not a successful bombing operation. But in fact, the mullahs have survived with their nuclear program pretty much intact. I want you to listen now to President Trump. He was absolutely furious. I don't blame him, saying, I'm being lied, I'm being smeared again, but not just me. You're smearing the military, you're smearing the pilots. As he put it, you're taking the guts right out of them. They pull off an almost flawless, highly dangerous, high-risk operation, and one of the greatest military operations in warfare. And you just trash it and attack it and try to discredit it because you want to try to damage me politically. Roll cut 6, Mike.
This was a devastating attack, and it knocked them for a loop. And, if it didn't, they wouldn't have settled. If they had won, if we didn't take it out, they wouldn't have settled. Somebody mentioned that to me last night. If that thing wasn't devastated, they would have never settled.
Well, of course. Of course they wouldn't have settled. Why would they? You drop 14 of these bunker busters and they basically leave your program intact. Why would you settle? That means essentially we threw our biggest punch and it hardly grazed them. And instead, they couldn't wait to settle. They couldn't wait to wave the flag of surrender and agree to a ceasefire. So again, it just defies common sense. But this is a very, very important point. And I want to play Marco Rubio. And I thought Rubio was superb this morning in the Netherlands at the NATO summit, where he said, listen, this is another deep state assassin. That's all this is. This is one low-level bureaucrat. Now, he didn't even hand over the report to, say, CNN or the New York Times. No. It's all by phone. So you're listening to a guy who's characterizing what he says is in the report. Rubio, Hegseth, Trump saying, we've actually seen the report. The report itself doesn't say what CNN and this leaker is saying that it says. So you're just allowing the leaker to characterize what the report says to frame a narrative to take down the president and discredit him and discredit this incredible military operation. Roll cut 7, Mike.
These leakers are professional stabbers. That's what they are. They go out and they read this stuff, and then they tell you what it says against the law, but they characterize it for you in a way that's absolutely false. There's no way Iran comes to the table if somehow nothing had happened. This was complete and total obliteration. They're in bad shape. They are way behind today compared to where they were just 7 days ago because of what the president did.
Okay, now, he also makes another brilliant point. Natanz. Now, you can clearly see the satellite image. There's no debating this. Again, who are you going to believe? CNN or your lying eyes? Natanz was their conversion facility. Not to get too technical about this, but this is where everything is then converted to highly enriched uranium. And you need the highly enriched uranium. That's the key component for a nuclear bomb or a nuclear missile. Well, as Rubio said, and the Israelis have confirmed this 6 ways to Sunday, Natanz has been destroyed, obliterated, decimated. The photos don't lie. The satellite pictures don't lie. So if their conversion facility has been completely obliterated, Iran doesn't have the path to the bomb. And it will take, at a minimum, years to rebuild and reconstitute this conversion facility, or any conversion facility. Roll cut 7A. Mike.
Here's a fact. The conversion facility, which you can't do a nuclear weapon without a conversion facility, we can't even find where it is, where it used to be on the map. You can't even find where it used to be because the whole thing is just blackened out. It's gone.
It's wiped out.
It's wiped out. Then we dropped 12 of the strongest bombs on the planet right down the hole in 2 places. Everything underneath that mountain is in bad shape. And I refer you to the statement of the IAEA, Mr. Grossi. You know what he said? He said there was Iran, the way it looked the day before the attack, and what their nuclear program looks like now. 2 very different things. They are way behind where they were just 7 days ago. Now, anything in the world can be rebuilt. But now we know where it is, and if they try to rebuild it, we'll have options there as well.
Look, and I'm choosing my words now very carefully. The FBI is investigating who this leaker is. I hope they find him, or her, whoever it is. And I mean really throw the book at him. Or her. Just throw the book at him. Really throw the book at him. This is illegal. This is sabotage. This is deliberately undermining the President of the United States, undermining our national security. But I'll tell you what else, to me, really bothers me about this. Those pilots are heroes. People have no idea how incredibly complex and difficult this mission was. They were flying at over 50,000 feet, and they had to drop these 30,000-pound, what they're called MOPs, massive ordnance penetrators, these massive bunker buster bombs, into 2 holes. And it had to be a perfect delivery. You had no room for mistake or error whatsoever. And they executed it flawlessly again and again and again and again. And as a result, Iran's nuclear facilities are now history. They have been decimated. They are buried under tons and tons of rock and stone. And CNN wants to undermine that?
When you actually look at the report, by the way, it was a top secret report. It was preliminary. It was low confidence. All right, so this is you make assessments based on what you know.
It said it could be very devastating, very serious.
Moderate to severe, and we believe far more likely severe and obliterated. So this is a political motive here.
Is there a leak investigation?
Of course, we're doing a leak investigation with the FBI right now because this information is for internal purposes, battle damage assessments, and CNN and others are trying to spin it to make the president look bad when this was an overwhelming success.
Bingo. That was Secretary of Defense Pete Hegseth, again at NATO, at the NATO summit, along with Secretary of State Marco Rubio, with President Trump regarding this despicable smear, this outrageous report now from CNN, as well as the New York Times and AP. 6:33 now on the great WRKO. Jeff Kuhner, Boston's bulldozer, 617-266-6868. So, It's a low confidence report. He's completely right. Initial assessment. Only one agency, the DIA, some hack reading what he says is in the report. They haven't even leaked the report. It's just some guy on the phone who leaked what he says are some of the contents of the report. And the report says, well, it could be moderate to severe damage. And they're just saying, well, we think it's moderate. And that the program is basically intact, and they've only set it back maybe a couple of months. Now, Hegseth has said this is a crime. It's illegal. You cannot be leaking any kind of intelligence, never mind something marked quote unquote top secret, to the media. So I want to read something that I got from Mark on Messenger, and I think he really hit the nail right on the head. Jeff, good morning. Well, good morning to you, Mark. I'm sorry, but whether it's true or not about this so-called damage assessment on Iran's nuclear facilities, who the hell are these news networks to report this, which I believe is BS anyway? But their licenses should be pulled immediately from broadcasting anything ever again. In other words, they're helping to break the law. They keep doing this over and over again. Sensitive intelligence that is supposed to be top secret, that, for example, if I leaked it or if it was given to me and I leaked it on Facebook, on X, on the air, I would be arrested on the spot. You would be arrested on the spot. If that hack called you up and said, hey, you're not going to believe this. Whoa, I got this so-called top secret report. Hey, it says it only set back the nuclear weapons program a couple of months. No, the nuclear program is still pretty much intact. You go, really? And you start blabbing to your friends? The fact, by the way, that you just heard it would land you in jail. But if you went to blab it to your friends, or put it on Facebook or on Instagram or TikTok or X or Truth or whatever, Truth Social, whatever, you're in jail. There's no debate. So how come CNN is able to get away with this? How come the New York Times is able to get away with this? How come the Associated Press is able to get away with this? And so I want to ask all of you, because it's the Kuner Country poll question of the day, sponsored by Mario's. Mario's Quality Roofing, Siding, and Windows. Should CNN face criminal charges for releasing this quote-unquote top secret report? In other words, enough. Not even just revoke their broadcast license. Should they face criminal charges? If you or I did it, we'd go to jail. So how come CNN and the others, the New York Times and how come they can get away with this? Enough is enough. And by the way, it's another lie. I'm telling you, this is another smear like the Trump-Russia collusion hoax. It's another smear intended now. This is one of Trump's greatest successes. He will go down in history for what he has done. And they know it. So, lie, fabricate a story, manufacture a so-called scandal, and then spread it on the airwaves. And that's what this is all ultimately about. Okay? But, let that go. So, should CNN face criminal charges for releasing a top secret report? A, yes. B, no. You can vote on our webpage, wrko.com/Kuner, wrko.com/Kuner, Kuhn as in national ER. You can also vote via X. And again, I was active on X last night. My handle there, all one word, at the Kuhner Report, Kuhn as in national ER, at the Kuhner Report. Okay. Let me just say one last thing, and then I want to go to the phone lines. 617-266 6868 is the number. I think now there is no question. There's just no question that President Trump, after this operation, will go down as one of the greatest historic leaders and presidents in the history of the United States. The Democrats know it. The fake news media knows it. Liberals know it. And so what they're desperately trying to do now is they are trying to downplay and undercut and really undermine what Trump was able to achieve. And the only way they can do it is to lie, is to claim that the bombing campaign was not as successful as it was, that Iran has emerged pretty much unscathed, that their nuclear program is still pretty much preserved and intact, and that the mullahs will be back at it in about 60 to 90 days, which A, defies all common sense, B, defies all the intelligence, C, defies all the satellite images. Okay? But it doesn't matter now. They realize that they predicted a catastrophe. Remember what they said. And I said it last night on X, but I want to repeat it. The Democrats and the fake news media owe Trump an apology. I'll never look back. Please don't take my word for it. When Trump ordered the strike to take out Qasem Soleimani, who was the head of military operations for the Iranian military overseas. Yeah, he was their top commander for overseas operations. When he took him out, the liberals, the media, the Dems, on social media, it was trending hashtag World War III. Trump's World War. That Trump now had sparked World War III with Iran. When in reality, as the Ayatollahs themselves later admitted, taking out Soleimani was the equivalent of taking out a major city in Iran. That's how much damage that strike did. Was there World War III? Niet. No. They said the exact same thing in the build-up to Saturday night strike. That if the United States takes out Fordo and Natanz and Isfahan and drops those bunker busters, this is it. It's World War III. It's World War III. Iran will be unleashing proxy terrorist attacks all over the Middle East. Our U.S. service members, our men and women are going to come back home in body bags. There's going to be terrorist attacks all over the homeland. We're looking at World War III. That was their prediction. And they were wrong again. They lied again. After Trump-Russia collusion, after the Hunter Biden laptop, after lying about the stolen 2020 election, after saying that Trump had no chance to win the election in 2024, over and over and over and over again, that he was going to go to jail for 900 years. 617-266-6868 is the number. Okay, President Trump, furious, livid, volcanic, angry, frustrated. You could go on and on. His team as well, they are really now giving it to CNN, the New York Times, and the Associated Press with both barrels, saying now that they are pushing a garbage report, a preliminary report that is with low confidence, only by one report. There's many other reports in the intelligence community claiming that the attack on the 3 nuclear sites by our incredible pilots was, according now to this so-called report, not as successful as Trump is claiming, that the Iranian program has survived, that its weapons program has only been set back several months, and that really, for the most part, it only did damage above ground, but very little damage underneath. Now, I just want to read this from David, and then I promise I want to go to the lines. The lines are jammed. 617-266-6868. So this is David on Messenger. Jeff, CNN and a lot of news outlets are saying that the bunker busters missed the nuclear development areas. They are trying to make Trump look bad. Bingo. The nightly news, CBS, NBC, ABC, they're now peddling the same garbage. MSDNC, they are going nuts with this report as well. And it's not just that it's a lie, but it's disgusting. And I'll tell you what bothers me the most, because we are taking this so for granted. The level of skill, honestly, the level of bravery and courage, the level of professionalism, the level of training to have pulled off this operation at this level with this much spectacular success, 52,000 feet, fly in undetected, and from that height, drop these massive 30,000-pound bunker busters into two small holes and be absolutely perfect. You want to talk about threading the needle. Perfect. Once, twice, 3 times, 4 times, 14 times. 14 times. And then get out without a single American casualty. These pilots are heroes, man. I'm telling you, this is the greatest military in the history of the world. And this is one of the most spectacular, successful, whatever you think. Should we have done it? Should we have not done it? That's a different debate. That's fine. I'm just saying, as a military operation, this was one of the greatest military operations in the history of warfare. And that's why Trump is livid, and I don't blame him. As he said it, you want to come after me? Come after me. Come after Rubio. Come after Vance. Come after Pete Hegseth. Fine, we don't care. But what you're doing now is you're disparaging and discrediting. You're really undermining the incredible work, success, bravery, patriotism, and courage of the men and women, of the pilots who flew that incredible operation. It's wrong. It's wrong on every level. It's wrong. Trump is right. I'm telling you, he's right. They're scum. They're even worse than scum, if you want to know the truth. They're traitors. And one last thing. As a journalist, okay, as someone who was in the newsroom in the Washington Times for many years, do you know how unethical it is from a journalistic point of view? You've got a 30-year-old punk with a political motive out to get the president, an anti-Trump deep state hack. Okay, a young punk, a mid-level Pentagon guy who gets his hands on this DIA low confidence assessment, and you don't even see the report yourself? He reads it to you over the phone? So, cherry picking, selectively picking what he thinks is important and how he spins it against the administration. And you just blindly, yup, oh yeah, we've got to bash Trump. Yup, you're just taking notes. Yup. And then you just run with it? I'm telling you, if I'm the managing editor, okay, that's the guy that oversees the news department in a newspaper or a cable news network or whatever, I say, excuse me, did you see the report? No. What? You haven't seen the report? No. So you're going to go on blind faith on some 30-year-old punk who's got an agenda, a political axe to grind against the president? And you're going to stake the entire credibility of this newsroom and of CNN or the New York Times or whatever? Are you mad? Are you nuts? You don't even have a second person corroborating it. That's another basic rule of journalism. You need at least 2 independent sources to corroborate something to make sure it's factually accurate. I mean, this is gutter. This is not journalism. It's not even gutter journalism. I'm telling you, this is propaganda and lies and defamation. At a minimum, they should have their broadcast licenses removed. It's a crime to release classified information or so-called top secret information. But I'm telling you, the FBI is investigating. I don't want to just get the leaker. I want to get CNN. Enough of this. Criminal charges should be leveled, not just at the leaker, but at CNN. It's time to set an example. Enough is enough. Agree, disagree, and you do it not just for the president. You don't just do it even for the truth. You do it for the military and the pilots. Think about it. They're now looking at themselves saying, we almost got killed, man. Yeah, thank the Lord they emerged safe and unscathed. You know, they could have easily been shot out of the sky by an Iranian ballistic missile or God knows what else. Do you know how risky that operation was? 36, 37 hours straight there and back. And they're saying to themselves, so let me get this straight. We pull off a perfect, flawless execution at the highest skill, with the highest training. We literally put our lives on the line for our country. And I got to watch on TV news night after night that this was a BS operation that accomplished next to nothing. For the morale of the military, for the honor of our troops and our pilots, get this damn leaker, and I want you to get CNN and the New York Times. This is not journalism. This is hack propaganda. Jay in Brookline. Thanks for holding, Jay, and welcome.
Hi, Jeff.
Hi.
Long-time listener, first-time caller.
Welcome.
By the way, I'm a big fan of Mrs. Kuhner.
Oh, thank you.
Nothing personal. Jeff, here's the story. I was born in Iran. I've been here 49 years. So I was in Iran several months ago. This operation that President did it, actually President Trump, they couldn't believe it because he stopped the war. Because the Iranian parliament just reported day before to close down the Strait of Hormuz. And for your listener, that's like 25% of world oil comes from that and belongs to Iran. All of that, the President Trump did contact Iranian, put everything together, and they stopped the war. And now these people was expecting President Trump to go to war and continue on. And if the CNN report is so good, CNN reports from the bunker in Israel and couldn't go out. And they didn't question that one. But now they question the most highly classified information. By the way, Jeff, who's on the ground to do the assessment? This is all from how come the war stopped? They don't question any of these things.
No, you're right. No, Jay, you're on fire. Jay, I'm telling you, you are absolutely on fire. Jay, again, if I know you have family in Iran, it's very dangerous for them. It's very sensitive. We know what the mullahs are and what they do to their people. Okay. And Jay, I really want to stress this to you. I've spoken to many listeners of this show. They email me, they message me. You don't know how much this Kuner Country loves the people of Iran. I really want to stress this to you. How much we respect the people of Iran, how much we honor the people of Iran, the culture, the civilization, everything that the Persian people, the Iranian people have achieved over thousands of years. It's the regime. The opposition is to the government, to the regime, to the Ayatollahs, not to the Iranian people or the Iranian nation. I want to stress that to you, Jay. And I know you have family there, and I don't want to get them in trouble. So if you want to be careful, I understand, and I won't be offended. But you said you were there just a couple of months ago to visit family. Is there a real possibility that the Iranian people will rise up and overthrow the mullahs? I'm just curious. When you talk to friends, family members in Iran, on the street, what are they saying about the Ayatollahs? Are they ready to rise up, or are they just too broken down?
Jeff, when it comes to war, everybody rallies behind their government. So the war, I mean, look at all these places that Democrats got into trouble and they weren't trying to regime change and all of that. It doesn't work. President Trump said it well in Saudi Arabia, in Qatar, United Arab Emirates. He said, we don't want to come here and to tell you what to do. You do what you have to do for your own country, and we'll do the business with you. And those people to go around changing regime and whatever, look what they have done. Do they do anything better? No. Look at what happened in Afghanistan. After 20 years war, they gave it back to the Taliban. So why were we fighting? Why did they lose $5 trillion? All of that. Trump went down there in those 3 Arab countries, brought trillions of dollars of investment. He's trying to do the same thing with Iran. Obviously, I talk to my family, and so I talk to them on a daily basis. Everybody is trying to have a business with the United States. And even the Iranian government already were in negotiation. Why do you think they contacted Trump and they stopped the war? So obviously, they know President Trump is not after regime change. I think Tucker Carlson said it well, and he's anti-war. So is Marjorie Taylor, and so you. And I think all of you stopped the war, and they just couldn't take it. And they're saying, can you imagine 24 hours cable? Their headline is every single time all about this so-called a secret military intelligence. If it's so secret, how come they know about it?
Jay, that's a great question. Great question. Jay, please, don't be a stranger. I know it's your first time calling. Please, call again, Jay. Jay, thank you very much for that call. 617-266-6868 is the number. Kim in New Hampshire. Thanks for holding, Kim, and welcome.
Good morning, Jeff. Good morning.
Kim. Hi.
If nobody else has said it, me as a lifelong New Hampshire resident, I live like 10 minutes from Pease. I am so proud. I see those air refueler planes all the time flying around. I am so proud of those men and women and with this event. But I also want to bring up another point of New Hampshire pride and with Pease. That was the home to the two nuclear bomber wings, the 100th bombardment and the 509th bombardment, that dropped the atomic bombs on a little event you might have heard of, Hiroshima and Nagasaki.
No, Kim, look, you should definitely be proud. One of the things, I don't want to get sidetracked, but I think people in New Hampshire really don't fully grasp the history of their state and how much their state has contributed, because in some ways they are in the shadow of Massachusetts. But honestly, I think New Hampshire has done so much for our country, and it is a gorgeous, beautiful state. And you're right, very, very impressive contribution to our military. And look, I just want to bring it full circle, Kim, to what Trump was saying literally like 3 hours ago at the summit, NATO summit in the Netherlands. He came out and he said, look, let me lay it out for all of you. He goes, I don't like to use Hiroshima and Nagasaki as a comparison because these were nuclear bombs which killed a lot of civilians. We had to use it to win the war. I didn't do that in Iran. We weren't looking to kill civilians. We weren't looking to unleash nuclear radiation. But he said the way those two bombs ended the Second World War, he said, what do you think attacking Natanz, Fordow, and Isfahan did to the war between Israel and Iran? He said it ended the war. He goes, honestly, I'm very proud of that. He goes, and CNN is trying to undermine this. He said, we effectively took out their entire nuclear weapons program, and I called up Israel and I said, knock it off. The war is over. Turn the planes around. It's over. To the mullahs in Iran, stop with the ballistic missiles. The war is over. Okay? So, as he put it, I dropped the hammer, similar to Hiroshima and Nagasaki, obviously without the civilian damage and the radiation, obviously. But he's saying it was a bomb that ended World War II. It was a big bomb that ended the 12-day war between Israel and Iran. Now, he says, what they're really trying to do is not just undermine me, damage my presidency, hurt me, but he says it's also they want to continue the war. In other words, the implication is, well, if you really didn't destroy their nuclear weapons program, we got to be back there again in 60 to 90 days. So we'll have to start bombing all over again. And Trump is saying, again, he's saying, I'm not going to be run by the military-industrial complex. No, I'm not in a long war with Iran. I wanted the program neutralized. I wanted the nuclear threat removed. That's it. It's over. Move on. So, Kim, I've got to ask you, you look at what CNN, the New York Times, and others are doing. Are you shocked? Are you surprised that they would so deliberately manipulate and distort what really happened in order just to try to damage President Trump? What say you, Kim?
I'm very disappointed in that. I have friends who are like watch those all the time, and they're the misdirection. I can totally understand why, if you just watch that, hear what the CNN and those say. I can totally understand why they're feeling the way, you know what I'm saying? If that's your only...
Well, no, that's brainwashing. No, you're right. No, it's part of their brainwashing and indoctrination. And look, I go back to the Smith-Mundt Act, which Obama repealed. It used to be illegal in this country for the media to broadcast propaganda or outright lies. And this is a lie, and they know it's a lie. And it's propaganda, and they know it's propaganda. They know it. And that's what I find, to me, that's what's disgusting. Look, everybody can disagree. Okay, that's life. Do you understand? And certain newspapers disagree with other newspapers. So, look, to me, and no one believes in the First Amendment, freedom of the press, more than Jeff Kuhner. But honestly, Kim, there has to be a certain point where you get a broadcast license, say like CNN. It's not a license to just say whatever you want to say, to just make up things and just lie. And literally, this is now what it's come down to. Are you going to believe your eyes, your lying eyes, or CNN? Are you going to, the satellite pictures, are you going to believe the satellite pictures, or are you going to believe CNN? The satellite pictures, Natanz is gone. Fordo is gone. Isfahan is gone. It's gone. It's done. It's over. And they're trying to claim, well, we've got one report by one guy who's reading it to us. It's low confidence, and he thinks really their program's pretty much intact. So what you're really trying to do is you're looking for any excuse, any little thread, any little hook that you can claim your propaganda campaign to go after Trump, to manipulate it, twist it, so you can attack Trump and claim, no, it wasn't successful, when it was clearly successful. And Kim, the reason why is this. I'm going to give you the last word. They said attacking Iran, the bombing those 3 sites, would be the end of Trump's presidency. That's what they said. That it would lead to World War III. That Americans would be coming home in body bags. That this would lead to a regional war, a global war. Russia would jump in. China would jump in. Boston would be burning. Chicago would be burning. Terrorist attacks everywhere. And none of that happened. None of that happened. And Iran's nuclear program was defeated. The Ayatollahs surrendered on that, and the war ended. It was a smashing success. And so now they have to lie in order to preserve their original lie about the war. Final word to you, Kim.
Can I mention something else?
Yes, quick.
Please? I attended the big Bunker Hill battle reenactment down in Gloucester last weekend, and what a patriotic, everybody there was just so, you want to be around nice patriotic people. You go to one of those big those reenactments. I mean, they've got everything down. Like,
oh, I agree. Oh, I know. 617-266-6868 is the number. Okay, Wednesday, 7:20-ish. You know what that means? Truth or troll? Take it away, Mike.
And now, America's favorite game show, where you get to decide on the Kuner Report. This is Truth or Troll.
Today's entry for Truth or Troll comes from President Trump speaking to reporters about the strikes on Iranian nuclear sites when he had some choice words for a certain media network.
When I see CNN all night long, they're trying to say, well, maybe it wasn't really as demolished as we thought. It was demolished. You take a look at the pinpricks, and you see that place is gone. And I will say, I think CNN ought to apologize to the pilots of the B-2s. I think that MSDNC ought to apologize. I think these guys really, these networks and these cable networks are real losers. You really are. You're real losers.
Bunch of real losers over there at CNN. So what do you think, Jeff?
No,
is he trolling or is he being serious?
No, he's. I
personally think he's dead serious.
Oh, he's dead serious. I don't think he's trolling on this one to get a reaction. No, I think, and Mike, I mean, you could have thrown in the cut, just to add to it, that he called them scum. I'm surprised he didn't drop another F-bomb.
There's too many instances of this to put them all into this segment.
Well, you know what? Great job, by the way, Mike. Let me ask all of you. So he's calling CNN losers, a bunch of losers. Scum, MSNBC as well, for going with this garbage report, claiming now that we did hardly any damage to Iran's nuclear weapons program. So let me ask you, is it truth? Do you think Trump really means it when he says they're losers and scum? Or do you think he's just trying to get a rise or a reaction out of them, that he's trolling them? Truth or troll? You can vote on our webpage. Go to WRKO.com/Kuner, WRKO.com/Kuner, KUHN is in national ER, or if you prefer, you can go to X, vote there as well. My handle, at the Kuner Report, KUHNER. I say it's mega truth. Not only does he mean it, he's dead serious. He's completely right. They are losers and scum. But that's me. I want to hear from you. Larry in Leominster. Thanks for holding, Larry, and welcome.
Jeff. Everyone treats the Air Force like the redheaded stepchild until it's time to do a flawless mission. And then everyone wants to celebrate them.
Larry,
hang on,
just for people who are listening, Larry, Larry is a 5-year Air Force veteran. So that's why he's very defensive about the reputation of the Air Force. Please keep going, Larry.
Said Hiroshima and Nagasaki weren't really affected, and they actually won the war. If you can believe that.
So, Larry, I got to ask you, as an Air Force veteran, are you offended by what CNN has now done? Defaming the pilots, impugning their professionalism, really just degrading and demeaning what they've accomplished?
To be offended, you have to respect somebody or have someone's respect. I don't care what CNN has to say. What they're doing, though, stay with me on this, is diabolically brilliant. Right? So how these bunker busters work is the actual explosive material is encased in several different layers of high tension material. So the idea behind it goes in, doesn't explode at the surface. It actually burrows down on a set. They can set how deep they want this to go before it goes off, right? So surface-wise, it looks like a hole in the ground. Well, they can say, we have no proof. There was no damage because all the damage is 200 feet below. And that's, in my opinion, what they're trying to pull off. They're saying, well, you can't see any surface damage, so obviously it was ineffective. And, the Ayatollahs are going to be right back in the game.
Larry, you know a lot about these so-called MOP bombs, these massive ordnance penetrators, the bunker busters, as they're more informally called, 30,000 pounds, the most devastating bombs on the planet. Larry, you dropped 12 of them on Fordo, 2 of them on Natanz. Do you think that there's anything left of that Fordo underground facility after 12 of these babies were dropped?
Now, everyone else, a lot of people are also trying to give the argument, well, these trucks came in and they safely moved out all the uranium, so it didn't change a thing. Imagine, if you will, you want to, and I do obviously not condoning this, I'm just using an example. You want to do a mass attack, and you have all this ammo at your disposal, but no means to use it. That's basically what's happened. They've got all the ammo, the uranium. They just got no way to fire it. They got no way to get it to where they want it to go. Yes, it would have been better if the plutonium or uranium, excuse me, I'm getting my chemicals mixed up, was destroyed in that. But on the flip side, maybe not. Because, yes, they still
Larry, can you hang on? I'm up against a break. We're going to come right back to Larry. 617-266-6868 is the number. Okay, let's go right back to Larry in Leominster, our Air Force vet, and a good friend of mine as well. Larry, you were saying, look, I'm not offended by what CNN and the New York Times and others have done, defaming the pilots who executed that brilliant bombing operation, because you have to respect someone to be offended by what they've done. Larry, please pick up where you left off.
So, Jeff, I was a mechanic on a cargo plane, C-130. I was too blind to fly, but my plane could drop what's called a daisy cutter. It's like a step down from the Moab. The Moab is, the mother of all bombs. It is the most powerful non-nuclear bomb in world history, basically. And, we're talking about the B-2s. The B-2 is funny. 2 planes. The SR-71 retired in 1988, the year I went in, and they announced the B-2 that same year, but it didn't go into production until 9 years later. I didn't know how sophisticated that B-2 is. Jeff, it's a flying 7-Eleven. It's got a microwave so they can cook burritos and stuff while they're flying. It's got a bathroom. I didn't know this until this mission, to be honest. And I was like, oh my God, I didn't realize all this.
Larry, is it true it has a wall of cigarettes?
I don't think that would be true because you're on oxygen at that height. You can't smoke.
Okay, all right. Because
I wouldn't think so.
Because Mike's in my ear laughing, and he says, Jeff, there's a wall of cigarettes. It's incredible. Now, hold on, Mike. What about, do they have, a Coke machine up there? Are you serious, Mike? A slushy machine? I mean, do they have, let's say you want a nice Diet Coke or a Coke Zero or a Cherry Coke or maybe hot dogs on the rollers? Do they got stuff like that up there, Larry?
Right? Yeah, it's like, air fresheners, all that. Anything you can find in 7-Eleven, you're going to find in this thing. But what I find laughable is you brought it up. I want to touch on it. Edward Snowden, evil incarnate for disclosing secrets. CNN, hailed as heroes. Make that make sense.
Oh, you're dead on. You're absolutely dead on. Larry, look, let me ask you point blank. Obviously, that leaker, I hope they find him and they throw the book at him. What about CNN? Should CNN Should there be criminal penalties for CNN for doing what they did? At a minimum, should they lose their broadcast license? I mean, how many times can they keep doing this with impunity? What say you, Larry?
I would say yes, because, what's going to end up happening is if anyone pushes it, the FCC is going to do what? Fine them, right? And the fine is always like 0.5% of their worth, so it's like nothing. Yeah, they need to feel the punishment. It's like why I enjoy that Trump had successfully sued CNN ABC over the George Steffi comments and all that. They need to be held to task and publicly humiliated. And it's no secret that, Congress is hitting lows right now, in the teens? And CNN and MSNBC, they're in for a penny, in for a pound. No matter how dumb their takes are, they know they're dumb, but they're going to go with it because they have to bring Trump down. How embarrassing is it that, I know I'm going a little off topic, but I'll come back around, that Green makes a case, finally, one that would actually kind of make sense for impeachment, saying he should have come to Congress first. And over 100 of his fellow Democrats voted against it because it's not because they didn't think Trump committed any crimes. In their head, he breathes, he commits a crime. That they knew how bad their polling numbers are. They're like, we can't do this again. It's just going to kill us, and we'll never take back the Congress.
Oh, Larry, again, excellent point. No, you're right. 128 Democrats voted against the impeachment resolution last night, or yesterday afternoon, forgive me. So they voted with Republicans, and Trump taunted them. He taunted AOC, he taunted Green, he taunted all of them. He said, go ahead, make my day. Jasmine Crockett, all of them. Chuck Schumer, he said, go ahead, impeach me. Over this, go ahead. I dare you. And they got destroyed in that vote yesterday. Destroyed. Larry, I've got to ask you this, because you know so much about the Air Force and airplanes and war fighting, especially from the sky. 12 of these mother of all bombs, okay? 12, as you said, the most powerful non-nuclear conventional bomb on the face of the earth. You drop 12 of them right down 2 holes in Fordo. Is there any way humanly possible that Fordo is still intact and still standing? Because that's what they're claiming the report says. What say you?
I mean, it's there. There's nothing in it but dust and, stalactites. But no, it didn't, if anyone was in there, they were just obliterated. They're now part of the walls in there. Nothing's left.
Larry,
even if there was no nuclear stuff in there, nothing's left.
Nothing's left. So, okay, so you're saying this report is 1,000% BS, correct?
Yes, it's BS. It was like Hegseth had said this was like some preliminary outlier, like an outlier poll that Trump is going to lose by 30 points type thing. It was an outlier initial assessment by one person. And like you said, it's bad enough that they don't have the report. They're just taking the word of some schmuck who told them, hey, this didn't work. Yeah, it's all bogus, but CNN knows that it's hard to prove because no one can get in there and give definitive proof that it's
You're right. No, you're right. You can't go to Iran and go underneath the ground and say, hey, look. So you're right. So they can just lie and lie and lie with impunity. Larry, great, outstanding call. One of your best ever. Thank you, Larry, as always. And always, thank you for your service. Tim in South Dennis. Thanks for holding, Tim, and welcome.
Good morning, Jeff. Thank you for taking my call.
My pleasure, Tim.
I was thinking, it's off the top of my head, just typical leftist stuff to get Trump. But if you think about it, the left has been controlling the media for a long time, and the media is in a position it can actually determine the outcomes of wars and other situations. Just look at every time Israel gets into a conflict with anybody, all you ever hear out of CNN And all the rest is Israel did this to civilians. Israel did that. You don't ever see what the enemy's doing. And it goes back a ways. If you remember the Tet Offensive in Vietnam, the VC came out of the jungles. They were smashed, utterly destroyed. So bad that even leaders in the VC thought the North set them up to fail because the NVA took over the war after. But there was Cronkite out there. It looks like we've lost the war and it can't be won. Or when we went into Grenada in 83 and they said, well, the students were never threatened, but everyone that was rescued said they were never so happy to see U.S. troops in their life. I mean, they're in a position, they control the narrative. And, so originally I thought, just another way to get Trump. Trump.
Tim, I got to tell you, I'm so happy you mentioned the Tet Offensive, 1968, because that I thought was a real turning point in the media and how they really became anti-American traitors. And I'm choosing my words very carefully. Because you are not 100, you're 1,000% correct. As an American, I know you're a military guy, Tim, so you know this better than I do. But as an historian, I used to teach about the Vietnam War and the Tet Offensive. You're right. The Tet Offensive was a disaster for the Viet Cong. They got their heads handed to them. And by the time Cronkite and the American media was done, 617-266-6868 is the number. Okay, Kuhner man now on the warpath, at least against CNN and the New York Times. This is from Lisa on Messenger. And I think she hit the nail right on the head. Jeff, it's time to remove all mainstream media from the White House, every last one of them. I am so sick of them. They truly are the enemy of the people. This has to stop. I couldn't agree with you more, Lisa. Could not agree with you more. Natalie in Lunenburg. Thanks for holding, Natalie, and welcome.
Hey, Jeff.
Natalie.
Yes. How are you? Happy heat wave, Jeff. Hey, Jeff, I'm confused. Maybe you can help me figure out what's going on. I'm confused here. I remember that the media was in high dudgeon, outraged to the fact that the FBI had to actually raid the president's home at Mar-a-Lago because he had classified documents and he had the authority to have them correct. He was an ex-president at that time, right? So he had the security clearance. Mar-a-Lago, not anybody can just get in there. There's a level of security there, and yet that was, they had to have guns a-blazing there, and the media was outraged about the breach of security, that there were classified documents there. And now they're broadcasting classified stuff all over the planet. What am I missing, Jeff?
Natalie, let me just play it, and I want to get your reaction. By the way, checkmate. Game, set, match. This is CNN. This is when they disclosed this supposed, and I'm putting in air quotes, top secret info, this top secret report about the impact or the lack of the strikes on Iran's nuclear facilities. Listen now. This is what they leaked live on air. Roll cut 11. Mike.
What we are told is that as of now, this Defense Intelligence Agency assessment, it does conclude at this point, again, it is still very early, that those underground facilities, including the centrifuges, including the highly enriched uranium that everyone has been talking so much about, those are largely intact. Now, of course, this does stand at odds with what President Donald Trump and Secretary of Defense Pete Hegseth have been saying in recent days about the impact of these U.S. military strikes. Of course, President Trump said it was totally obliterated, and Secretary Hegseth did as well.
Natalie, they ran on the air. A guy read to them what he says was in this DIA quote unquote top secret intel report, not verified, not corroborated. They just on blind faith, and they just leaked it right there to the entire world.
Oh, then if we're going to have consistency here, shouldn't the FBI go in with guns blazing to CNN and the New York Times and ransack and put all of their records all over the floor and post those pictures all over the place? And you know something, Jeff? If they were to do it, the hue and cry, Trump, he's a dictator, he's Hitler, he's attacking free journalists, oh my God. It's like they have no standards. The only standard, they did a complete 180 from their previous position with the Mar-a-Lago raid. It's their only standard is we will say the exact opposite. We have no moral compass. Our only compass is get Trump. They're playing both sides of the field here. It's just that people can't see this. There's just such an agenda, and they just have to always be negative.
Brilliant. Absolutely. Natalie, drop the mic. Brilliant, brilliant, brilliant. Natalie, thank you very much for that call. And, shoot to kill orders. And never forget that. The FBI raided Mar-a-Lago, not only with guns blazing, but literally with shoot to kill orders. So if we're going to be fair, FBI now should be kicking down the doors at the headquarters of CNN, the building where the New York Times is, and shoot to kill. Guns blazing, shoot to kill orders. Hey, you phonies, you frauds, you're completely right, Natalie. If they did that, he's a dictator, Hitler. This is an assault on the freedom of the press. So you can do it to Trump, but we can't do it to you. 617-266-6868. Jim in Tingsboro. Thanks for holding, Jim. And welcome.
Good morning, Jeff. How are you today?
Very good, Jim. How are you?
I'm doing okay, I guess. I'll tell you. I mean, they're actually...
Jim, can you do me a favor? Can you get off speaker? Can you pick up your phone? Because we can barely hear you.
Oh, is this better?
Much better. Oh, like night and day. Go ahead, Jim.
All right, no, Jeff. CNN is absolutely sickening. And you know what they say though? If you remember the old saying of, seeing is believing. Well, I have a vote for CNN and the New York Times. I feel that what they need is a demonstration. So I would say we take one of them deals and drop it on them. And this way they can experience it personally before they start opening their mouths.
Jim, what I find incredible, no, seriously, that's the other thing. Please, again, don't take my word for it. When Israel first attacked Iran, the liberal media, CNN, MSNBC, the same culprits, the New York Times, there's no weapons program in Iran. That's what they were saying. There's no program. The Ayatollahs don't want to get a bomb. What are you talking about? No. There's no enrichment. There's no nuclear underground program. This is a figment of Israel's imagination. This is Bibi's war. This is Bibi. That's all this is. Then when it looked like Trump was going to bomb, there's no weapons program. How dare he do this? Now, listen to this. After it's been incredibly successful, and of course, there was a weapons program. It's in ashes now. Trump destroyed and obliterated it. Now, Jim, have you noticed? Like this, like the snap of the finger. Oh, yeah, there's a weapons program, but he didn't set it back. Only 2 or 3 months. So I'm scratching my head and I'm like, okay, just 10 days ago, you said that the Ayatollahs didn't have any uranium, any enrichment, any nuclear program. Now you're saying, well, yeah, Trump bombed them, but no. Their nuclear weapons program is still intact and they're going to reactivate it in 2 months. So which is it? Do they have the program or do they not have the program? It's like talking to Bill in Sudbury. You see what I'm talking about, Jim?
Absolutely, Jeff. I mean, it's, for crying out loud. This is the media, they got a lot to learn. Like I say, definitely, show them what it's all about. Let them see one firsthand.
Give them a demonstration, huh? Thank you very much for that call. I'm telling you, best audience in the business. Best audience in the business. Bob in Plymouth. Thanks for holding, Bob, and welcome.
Good morning, Jeff. Thanks for taking my call.
My pleasure, Bob.
Well, earlier in the show, you were talking about liberals and the type of people they are. And all I can think about is anytime I've been in a crowd or, amongst a bunch of people, and there's a liberal person that's a CNN fan, and you can't reason with them, you can't have a conversation with them, you just stop talking to them because it's so ridiculous. And that's all I can see here with the story about, the bombs didn't work and this and that. And now, doesn't Pam Bondi have the authority to go after CNN now for that story?
Well, they're going after the leaker, right? Because the leaker committed a crime. There's no question. I'd love for her to go after CNN. Will she? I doubt it. She should, but I doubt it. But, there's so much uproar now. I've got to tell you, Bob, there's a lot of pressure now on the FBI to not just go after the leaker, but to go after CNN and the New York Times and the Associated Press. Like, this has got to stop. And, look, really, Natalie, it really is the checkmate argument. So the president, or now then the former president of the United States, has declassified documents and takes them with him. He has the authority to do that because he declassified them. Yet the FBI said, no, you can't have top secret information. No, absolutely not. And so they kicked his doors down, guns blazing, shoot to kill orders. And they raided Mar-a-Lago. And I'm sorry, but they went into Barron's room. They went through Melania's underwear. They went through the president's safe. They took everything. They took all of his documents. They took his passport. They took everything. So, by that logic, she's completely right. If it's illegal for Trump to have classified information, then how the hell is it legal for CNN and the New York Times and the Associated Press to leak this so-called top secret DIA, Defense Intelligence Agency, low confidence report, this assessment very early, either in print or live on the air? If we're going to be in any way consistent, the FBI now should be kicking down their door and arresting them. So, Bob, you're not 100, as I like to say, you're 1,000% correct. And Bob, let me just add one other thing, and I want to get your take on this. This is, I think, it's not just that they're going after the pilots, that they're discrediting the incredible success and the professionalism and just the training and this was an incredible operation. Whether you agree or disagree, this was the execution of this was at such a high level. It's literally one of the greatest military operations in warfare, period, full stop. And so now you're demeaning and defaming what they've accomplished. Okay? That's number one. But this is the other thing, Bob. For once, just for once, can't we come together as a country and just go bravo? Just go bravo. Again, whether you're for or against the military operation. Here, Tucker Carlson, okay, was against it. Completely was against it. Steve Bannon, completely against it. Marjorie Taylor Greene, completely against it. And by the way, now there's a civil war within MAGA. Mark Levin is now attacking them. They're attacking Mark Levin and Sean Hannity. And I mean, it's a food fight now. It's an all-out brawl. And I may even get into that later in the show. We'll see. But my point is, even those that opposed the attack, the U.S. strike on those 3 nuclear sites, came out and said, from a military standpoint, flawless. Flawless. Bravo. Flawless. Best military in the world, best pilots in the world, and just the execution of this, the decoy, the deception, the B-2 bombers going west, but the real attack team went east. 125 planes in total. Perfect coordination, along with 30 Tomahawk missiles launched from a nuclear submarine 400 miles away. I mean, we annihilated Iran's military and nuclear infrastructure in, 10 minutes? I know the operation was 36, 37 hours to get there and back, but the actual dropping of the bombs and the missiles, this is almost unheard of. The Chinese can't believe it. The Russians can't believe it. The world is looking in awe. Like, this is real shock and awe. And, Bob, Dick Cheney and George W. Bush, if you remember, in the build up to the Iraq War, what did they say? They said Saddam had weapons of mass destruction and he had a so-called WMD program. Okay? In other words, he had nukes or whatever, biological, chemical weapons. So what did they do? 500,000 troops. Okay? Hundreds of thousands of troops. $3 trillion over, what was it? 6, 7, 8 years. How many Americans dead, maimed? Trump, Iran's WMD program? Give me 20 pilots, 45 minutes, and I'll take care of it for you. I mean, it's incredible. And so we couldn't, as a country, just say, no, look, it's gone. They did it. They obliterated it. They wiped it out in one of the most effective, spectacular military operations in history. And at least show pride in our military and what we've achieved. They couldn't even do that. They can't even do that. I don't mean that the Dems tried to impeach him then and it failed yesterday, or that they're calling Trump a war criminal, or that they're protesting on the streets waving the Iranian flag, literally waving the flag of the mullahs. So this is what the media, this is what the Democrats, this is what the left now has come to. They can't even celebrate, even acknowledge an incredible American military success. That's how much they hate this country. That's how much they hate Trump. That's how much they hate our military. Bob, final word to you.
Just suppose if Kamala was president and she had this Operation Midnight Hammer, wouldn't they have changed the name to Hammered by Noon?
Bob, this thing would have ended Israel would have been defeated by Iran. She would have sabotaged and stabbed Israel in the back. If she was in power, the mullahs would have the bomb. Thank the Lord she lost. Thank you, Jesus. Bob, thank you very much for that call. I gotta say, even the way Trump has defined it, the 12-day war, it's going to go down as a 12-day war. Even the name of the operation, Operation Midnight Hammer. I'm telling you, it's perfection. Everything about it was awesome. Everything. Again, that's just me. Agree, disagree. Marlene in Waltham. Thanks for holding, Marlene, and welcome.
Hi, Jeff. Love you.
Thank you, Marlene.
We pray for you all the time.
Thank you.
We do. I would say, what precedents has President Trump set now to the world? That's major. And also, definitely revoke the certification, tax exempt, whatever they have. Consequences matter. We've been saying this since day one. And everybody that has called in, consequences matter. It's time. Hammer them, period. Brennan came out yesterday. I saw him on TV, and I turned the TV off immediately. I don't know what he said, but I don't want to hear. Those guys are still around. Brennan, Clapper, Comey, all of them. What are the consequences of all they did, which is a lot. And also, Pelosi came out yesterday on TV, and she did say no impeachment. What has happened is a good thing. So I'm not sure why she said that, but she did. So maybe she's trying to be on the good side of President Trump, just in case.
Well, Marlene, the reason why she said that and the reason why 128 Democrats voted against impeachment yesterday, and that's why AOC got her head handed to her. Her and Al Green, the guy who actually officially pushed a vote, and the squad and the crazy left, the fanatical left, the radical left, is because they can read the polls. Over 80% of Americans say that this was an incredibly successful strike and that Trump did the right thing, that they don't want Iran to get the bomb. It's literally an 80-20 issue, and many of these Democrats are worried about getting reelected. So that's why they did it, Marlene. You're complete, and I think that explains it all. But no, Marlene, look, I want to go back to your original point. You're right about John Brennan, Clapper, the whole gang. Since 2016, when Trump first won, the deep state has been out to get him, to sabotage him, to undermine him, to destroy his presidency. And yes, they've purged some of these rabid anti-Trumpers from the deep state, from the intelligence community, but not all. And you can see that now with this bogus, report, this leak of this ridiculous, top secret assessment. You still have Brennan's people, Clapper's people, these anti-Trump traitors in the deep state that are trying to sabotage Trump even after an incredibly successful military operation. And so my advice to Trump and to Hegseth and to everybody in the administration, you got more cleaning house to do. You got to continue to clean house. Find this leaker, find the people who helped him with this leak, and you put him in jail. And you let people know. You set an example. If you're going to try to sabotage Trump illegally, commit crimes, as this is, you are going to pay, and you're going to pay dearly. Okay, part of all of this, and it's a bit of a frightening story, but, we have to face truth. We have to face reality in the face. We have to. We can't just bury our heads in the sand, no matter how much the media wants us to or is trying to pull the wool over our eyes. So ICE has now announced over the last couple of days that they have conducted raids targeting, in particular, illegal alien Iranian nationals, Iranian citizens who came in right through Biden's wide open border. 16 of them so far have been arrested. Now, I just want you to listen to this, okay? If this doesn't send a chill down your back, nothing will. Most of the 16 Iranian illegal aliens that they have now arrested have either direct or indirect ties to the Ayatollah's regime in Tehran. In fact, several of them literally are members of the infamous Iranian Revolutionary Guard Corps. And for those of you who don't quite know exactly how Iran's military works, you have the traditional military, right? The normal military. And then you have what's called the IRGC, the Iranian Revolutionary Guard Corps. They are the special operations forces of that regime. They answer directly to the Ayatollah. They are the ones who conduct the terrorist operations abroad. They are the ones who coordinate with Hamas, with Hezbollah, with the Houthis, with the terrorists, the Shia terrorists in Iraq, in Syria, or if they do any kind of bombings in Latin America and Argentina when they blew up that synagogue and killed God knows how many Jews there, Jewish people there. That was all through the Iranian Revolutionary Guard Corps. Soleimani oversaw that. He was the top guy over the IRGC. Well, literally, members of the RIGC, so we're talking now about Iranian terrorists directly tied to the Ayatollahs and to the mullahs, infiltrated our country under Biden. And then the other thing that's chilling, now some of them have been arrested. What do you think they're doing here? What, you think they're here because they enjoy the weather? You think they're here because they want to watch baseball and eat hot dogs? No. They snuck in, they infiltrated, because they're planning, they're part of terrorist sleeper cells that are planning or were planning to launch devastating terrorist attacks. There's no question. Now, the other thing that's chilling about this, of the 16 that have been arrested, I'm just going to give you the states that they've been arrested in. It's not even like they're all in one state or even in one area. New York, Colorado, California, Arizona, Texas, Minnesota. And either they were arrested in blue states or in blue sanctuary cities. So they're not, they're not in Charleston, South Carolina. I'll tell you this. They're not in Dallas, Texas. I'll tell you this. So they're either in a sanctuary city in Texas or sanctuary city in Arizona or a sanctuary city in California or in a sanctuary state like Colorado, or again, California is also a sanctuary state, or a sanctuary city like New York City. So they are hiding in the shadows and they are going directly to places where they think they are safe from ICE and that they will not be caught, arrested, detained, or deported. Now, that's just 16 that we caught. Remember, over 1,500 came in under Biden, unvetted. They just walked in. They just literally walked in. 617-266-6868. Now, why doesn't CNN do a report on this? And plaster the names. If you want, I can give you the names. I mean, they're all these, Middle Eastern Iranian names. It won't mean much to anybody. But but all men, all young men, 20s, 30s, and 40s, they all came in through the wide open southern border under Biden. And you just look at their titles. Member of the Iranian Revolutionary Guard Corps. Or ex-member of the Iranian Revolutionary Guard Corps, or a member of the Iranian military, or member of, tied to the Quds Force, or whatever it may be. So this is what we've allowed to come into the United States. And I'm not trying to spread fear. I'm just speaking the truth. Look what 19 were able to do on 9/11. Look what two brothers from Chechnya were able to do in Boston during the Islamist Boston terror bombing. Just two crazies with a couple of pressure cookers. And that's the other thing. When you put these illegals on welfare, it's not just that they're parasites. 617-266-6868 is the number. Okay, now the fake news media is disseminating a garbage, bogus, so-called top-secret report claiming that the bombing raids, the strikes on the 3 nuclear sites by our pilots ordered by President Trump, in fact, did very little damage to Iran's nuclear capability, to its underground nuclear enrichment facilities, that Trump is lying, and that Iran is still maybe 2-3 months away from getting the bomb. That's what I'm telling you with a straight face. That's what they're peddling. So, I want to read this text because I think it sums it up brilliantly. Why CNN is leading the charge. New York Times, AP, now the network news, they're all piling on. 781. You can text us 70470, 70470, 781. Jeff, you posed the question. Who leaked to CNN? The traitorous parts within the deep state did, particularly the CIA, which is a literal partner with CNN, on the same payroll, funded with the same dark money. CNN is the marketing mouthpiece of the deep state. They are not just ideological partners, but actually dirty and deadly business partners. And let me just stop right there. By the way, completely right. USAID. Remember the Doge found all the scandals involving USAID and how billions and billions were being illegally funneled back into the intelligence community, back into these NGOs, back into these media outlets like CNN? People have been asking for years. They have such horrible ratings. How can they stay financially viable? They're taking government money. The same government money that's being secretly funneled to the CIA, to the DIA, to the NSA, and to the entire deep state intelligence community. And that's the point 781 is making. They're not just, ideologically simpatico. Literally, the deep state, the CIA, and CNN are dirty, deadly business partners. So 781 continues. So when you're asking, quote, rhetorically, for the deep state institutions whose mission since 2016 was and is to destroy Trump, to now vindicate Trump, the irony is not lost. The real miracle is how Team Trump kept the bombing plan secret from them. Bingo. And the answer to that is they kept it to a very tight-knit, close network of Trump's inner circle. Hegseth, J.D. Vance, Marco Rubio, the chairman of the Joint Chiefs, you can count them on two hands. And that's how they kept it top secret and allowed the operation to not be leaked and not be exposed. Because I'll tell you this, do you have any doubt if someone within the deep state wanted to get word out to the Iranians, to the mullahs, that we were about to launch these deadly strikes, and they leaked it to CNN or MSNBC or ABC or CBS or the New York Times, that they wouldn't have leaked it? Of course they would have leaked it. And they don't care if that led to our planes being blown out of the sky, or our pilots being killed, or the operation having to be aborted. Because in the end, they're not just against Trump. They hate everything that America stands for. As Trump rightly said, they are the enemy of the people. Gary in Woburn. Thanks for holding, Gary, and welcome.
Yeah. Ooh, Archie, I've been reading in the paper about something called the Bunker Buster. I hope this has nothing to do with us.
Yes. On the contrary, Edith, it's got everything to do with us. You see, those there bunker busters are bombs, and we just dropped 3 of them on those Muslim nut jobs over there, giving them a one-way ticket to go see our and them their mustachio virgin. My Arch, 72 black-eyed virgins. Well, I'll tell you what there, meathead. It so happens to be sacred, right? But I'll tell you what, whoop-de-doo, meathead. Did it ever occur to you that these mullahs actually are the ones that are giving them those black guys in the first place?
Yeah, Archie, that sounds so awful.
And tell you what, hey, Mr. Trump there just started World War III trying to wipe out a wonderfully beautiful culture and religion. What say you, Mr. Jefferson? I'll tell you what, This is the first time that I actually agree with you, Bunker. But Mr. Jefferson, Muhammad Ali, and Obama called the Islamic call to prayer the most beautiful thing in the world. What do you think, Mr. Jefferson? I'll tell you what. You think just because I'm black that I'm on your side? I'm on the side of the green.
Oh, Mike, guess what? Look at this. I just found the signs for you and Gloria to go protest.
Let me see this, meathead. I'm taking a look at that. That's actually an old sign from 1978, Arch. Well, ain't that something there, meathead? You don't want nukes. Now you do, just as long as a bunch of bearded nuts shouting death to America. Hey, Bunker, I'll tell you what, I got a good idea. How about you and me bring them signs down to the protest? I think that's a great idea there, Jefferson. No nukes for Iran ever again. Thank you, President Trump.
Oh, bravo, Gary. Honestly, bravo. Magnificent. You got Archie Bunker. You got Jeffrey. I mean, by the way, I love those shows. I still watch the reruns once in a while. But Meathead, you nailed them perfectly. Perfectly. And they're insane, twisted logic. Gary, honestly, you're one of the best in the business. Gary, thank you so much, my friend. Gary and Woburn, honestly, one of the best comedians around. Thanks again, Gary. 617-266-6868 is the number. Bill in Medfield. Thanks for holding, Bill, and welcome.
How you doing, Rush Limbaugh?
Thank you.
How do I follow this guy? You know what I'm saying? I got a few things to say on about what's going on with the media. First, we have to have there has to be a congressional hearing on what happened in CNN. We got to find who did the leaking, and we got to drag CNN through the mud by, it should be like, what does it last, a few days, those hearings usually in Congress. So we got to drag the CNN through the mud so we find out how we can change the media where both sides are allowed to give equal points of view, not just the liberal side only. And what we got, conservatives have the right to their side, too. I don't know how they can do it. And also, can you tell me, why did Merit Street go off the air? It was with Dr. Phil, and it had the conservative point of view, and he was always talking with Holman there, the guy that's in charge of the deporting guy.
Yeah, the borders are. No, look, Bill, there used to be a tradition in this country that you have both points of view represented in the media. The Democrat point of view, the Republican point of view, the liberal point of view, the conservative point of view. Those days are gone. And you're right. The fake news establishment corporate media, it's all one way. Okay, civil war now within MAGA. One of the unfortunate consequences of the Iran-Israel 12-day war, and in particular, Trump's decision to strike those 3 nuclear sites. It is a brawl. It is a food fight. It is getting ugly. It is getting nasty. You are now really starting to see the fissures, the deep splits and divisions within the MAGA movement. And I'm talking now about the influencer level, the sort of opinion leaders of MAGA. Now, just to show you how ugly it is getting, as many of you know, Tucker Carlson campaigned for President Trump in 2024, voted for him, was even, there at the convention in Milwaukee. He and Trump, close friends, or at least they were, has come out, big following. A lot of people watch him. A lot of people listen to him. He has now come out completely against Israel's decision to bomb Iran, and in particular, Trump's decision to bomb those 3 nuclear sites. He said it was going to lead potentially to World War III, suck us into regime change. maybe even lead to a military occupation of Iran. He has now come out and praised the ceasefire. And one of his arguments is that Trump prevented the escalation and expansion of the war, that he says neoconservatives, the war hawks, like Lindsey Graham, and like talk show host Mark Levin, who's another big Trump supporter, and Graham is obviously a friend of Trump and a supporter of Trump's, that they wanted Trump to go all in, to not just bomb the nuclear sites, but to literally bomb Iran until there was regime change and a complete change in the government in Tehran. In other words, that Levin and Lindsey Graham wanted a regime change war, and they are angry and frustrated that Trump imposed a ceasefire because they thought they could push him all the way into an all-out war against Iran. And so Tucker Carlson came out and blasted Mark Levin, saying that he's a buffoon. He did an interview on a podcast where he said Levin is a buffoon, that he's not America first, but he's Israel first. And he pointed out that Levin was part of that infamous cover story, National Review 2016, and that's where the term Never Trump came from, in which leading conservatives in the media came out in that issue, Never Trump, as it was titled. And it was Mark Levin, it was Glenn Beck, it was many conservative personalities said that Trump must not become president of the United States. And Tucker Carlson in particular said Mark Levin said that Trump was not a conservative at the time, was not a constitutionalist at the time, that he was, quote, an opportunist and didn't have the temperament and character to be president of the United States. And so Tucker Carlson said he's a warmonger. He's an Israel first warmonger who is no different than Lindsey Graham, who tried to push the president, because Levin did visit Trump at the White House, where he lobbied hard for regime change against Iran. And he says that he tried to push Trump, Levin did, onto a path, I'm almost quoting Tucker now verbatim, that would have led to the destruction of Trump's presidency and to a massive war in the Middle East between the United States and Iran. Mark Levin has gone ballistic. There's no other way to say it. Ballistic. And he wrote this, it was almost, an essay. He replied on his show. He then went on X. And he went after Tucker Carlson with everything that he had, saying that Tucker Carlson, I'm using direct quotes, is a happy hooker, as Levin called him, who has changed his position so often, it depends on how much you pay him. He went from being a liberal to a libertarian to a neoconservative to a conservative to now, as Levin says, he's nothing more than a Jew-hating anti-Semite. He then went on that he must be on drugs and alcohol again, that apparently he claims Tucker Carlson had been abusing drugs and alcohol before, and he has now nicknamed Tucker Carlson Qatarlson, because he alleges that Tucker Carlson has taken money from the terrorist regime of Qatar. So you've now got open civil war. They're now savaging each other, destroying each other. Levin is now attacking Steve Bannon. Bannon is now attacking Mark Levin and Sean Hannity. So you've got that fissure, and now it's opened up against Marjorie Taylor Greene. And Levin has attacked Marjorie Taylor Greene, saying that she is kooky, she is stupid. Why? Because she opposed Trump's decision to take out the 3 nuclear sites. She says we're slowly being sucked into a war. She wants us to focus on fighting the Mexican drug cartels, the fentanyl that's pouring into our country, which she says is killing countless Americans, and to focus on the border invasion and get rid of all the illegals, and that this is a massive, massive distraction. So she then came out and attacked Mark Levin. She went on Matt Gaetz' show, and Matt Gaetz, by the way, is siding with Tucker, Steve Bannon, and Marjorie Taylor Greene against Mark Levin, Fox News, and Sean Hannity. And where she said he was never MAGA, he was against Trump in 2016, he tried to stop Trump, sabotage Trump. She says he's a phony and a fraud who's trying to pretend to be Trump's friend because he wants to push Trump to overthrow the Ayatollahs and the mullahs in Iran on behalf of Israel and AIPAC. So, Levin fired back. Here's what he wrote. This is how ugly it's getting. MTG, Marjorie Taylor Greene. God, are you stupid? And you keep banging your head against the wall. Thankfully, POTUS ignored you and hit the Iranian nuclear sites. You seem very upset about it. I'm not going away. You're on my radar. Marjorie Taylor Greene now says that his comments were sick and disturbing and that Fox News should fire him. Here's what she fired back in return. Quote, "This is extremely sick and disturbing." And then she says about her post, "Please read to the end. Mark, you have the exact same tone and language that the psychopaths use that send me death threats every single day. You should be fired from Fox News, and shame on Fox if they condone this." And then she went on to say, "Let me introduce you to my friend Jesus." This is Marjorie Taylor Greene. He says, "Blessed are the peacemakers, for they will be called the children of God." She then says Jesus is the Messiah. Jesus is the one and only Son of God. She then goes on to say he was put to death on a Roman cross, sacrificed for our sins. And then she's taunting Levin, because Levin is Jewish, saying you can read about Jesus in Isaiah chapter 53, verses 5 to 12. And then she says Jesus will return one day, and those that did not recognize him will mourn. He will bring everlasting peace to all the earth, and his kingdom will have no end. She says Jesus also says, pray for your enemies. I will do my best to pray for you, but I will be watchful now. So then she goes on to say that she's for peace. I oppose war, including wars Israel wages. Should I feel that my life is in danger now too? What about President Trump, who strongly rebuked Israel this morning, that was yesterday, for continuing to attack Iran? So, in a nutshell, because I've got Dr. Grace now waiting in the wings. In a nutshell, you now have an all-out civil war. There's no other way to put it. Within the MAGA camp. It is now badly polarized. It is badly divided. I'll be honest with you. I don't mind a good, rigorous debate about whether we should be entangling ourselves in other countries, whether we should be attacking Iran or not attacking Iran. To me, that's why I'm a conservative. I believe in free speech, and I believe in open, honest debate. But so much of this is just vicious, and I mean vicious, ad hominem personal attacks. It's you're a happy hooker, you're a drug addict, you're stupid, you're crazy. Then the other side is you're a warmonger, you're for Israel, your loyalty is not to the United States, you're not MAGA, we're MAGA, no, we're MAGA, you're anti-Semitic, you're a bunch of Jew haters. What they're doing now is they're destroying each other. That's what they're doing. They're destroying each other. And I don't think, frankly, it's good for MAGA, honestly. I don't think it's good for conservatism. I don't think it's good for the country. I don't think it's good for Trump. I really don't. And I'm looking at them, and if I had them all in a room, I'd say, what are you guys, 6? Like, this is the level of discourse now that we have in the United States of America? That you can't disagree on a war or a military intervention or a military operation without destroying one another in the most nastiest, vicious way? So this is now where it is. It is now open war between different camps of MAGA. And so my question to you, who do you side with? You now have one camp, and the positions now have so hardened, there's no reconciling. There's no coming back. You've got Tucker Carlson, Steve Bannon, Marjorie Taylor Greene, and Matt Gaetz on one side. You've got Mark Levin, Sean Hannity, and Fox News on the other. And the two now are, it's forget Israel, Iran. There is World War III, but it's within the MAGA camp. Okay, joining us now to discuss this and so much more, Dr. Grace putting liberals in their place. Grace Vuoto, full disclosure, she's my better half. And yes, you better believe it, I married up. Grace, I know you want to talk about the actual operation, what Trump did, Operation Midnight Hammer. But before you do, I know you've been following now this civil war, this complete now fissure, this division that is splintering and breaking MAGA apart. Where do you stand among the camps? Are you with Tucker's people or are you with Levin's people? What say you?
All right. Well, good morning, Jeff. Well, first of all, I was so impressed yesterday with all your callers, Jeff. I just want to make this point to say how in this country we should have a civilized discussion. These people should all tune in to listen to your callers, because yesterday your show was a master class in how America used to discuss these very, very important matters. You had a wonderful caller, Maria, who disagreed with some aspects of Trump's policy. You had the brilliant caller, red, white, and blue dynamite baby Tom, that also disagreed with Trump. But they did it all with such class. And so I think that the truth of the matter is that Levin and Carlson, Bannon, and Marjorie Taylor Greene, they have important points to make about our foreign policy, and they've played critical roles in the MAGA movement. And all they have to do is express their point of view without attacking other people's motives and without destroying one another. It's not that hard. So where I stand, there's a lot of nuance in what I'm going to say. And once I explain my position, you'll see that I stand in some respects with the Carlson and Bannon camp, but in other respects with the other camp. So there's nuance, and I think we have to be able to talk about it without vilifying one another and not attacking each other's motives. I mean, you're taught this stuff in university about how to have a debate. We need to bring this back in America. So, Jeff, I want to get to the substance of the issue, if I may. And first and foremost, our warriors are unbelievable. The operation that was conducted on Saturday was absolutely mind-boggling in its precision, in its bravery, in its secrecy, in the strategy, in the execution. It was just incredible. And so what I'm going to say next is in no way to impugn the remarkable work of our service members. When the commander-in-chief says, do X, Y, and Z, man, do they do X, Y, and Z, as we saw. However, I still do not understand why President Trump didn't let Israel do the job. So in this regard, I disagree with Tucker Carlson, who didn't want Israel to bomb the nuclear facilities of the Iranians. I wanted Israel to do it. And they have a unique and exquisite unit as well, the Shaldag unit. They have previously blown up facilities that are 300 feet under the ground, and basically it would have just taken a couple more weeks. They would have done it. They would have blown up all of those facilities. They would have also been there on the ground while doing it. They would have told us exactly how much uranium is there or not there, so we don't even have any further questions about how much was actually obliterated. So I wish that President Trump, as I said last week, would just let Israel do the job. And then let me tell you something. We cannot have any sense that the mullahs have truly told us the truth about what they're going to do next. I do not have any confidence that when they said to us that their very weak attack on Qatar is their retaliation and that's it. I don't believe them for a minute. These people are going to regroup and they're going to be back at it as soon as they possibly can. And so right now, why are we preventing Israel from doing the job that they were doing so well and from finishing the job? Let me tell you, there is nothing that has given me more peace in the last few days than Israel's brilliant work there. More peace of mind, that is. They decimated the Iranian forces to the point that Israel had control of the skies. That's the ball game right there. And now, because we got involved, Trump has to deal with this division in his movement, right? So he wants an immediate ceasefire because if it continues, the MAGA camp will war with each other. So he's saying, I want a ceasefire. Plus, he doesn't want any further blowback on American forces. But had he just not intervened and just been a great big brother to Israel, Israel can continue to dominate the skies. Israel can continue to bomb them. Israel can make sure that every last ounce of this nuclear program is over, and who knows what good things would come next. But why have we imposed this ceasefire on Israel and Iran? So in this regard, I agree completely with your caller Maria, with your caller Tom, some of your other callers. I don't understand why we got involved. And I think, once again, although the military campaign was brilliant, the overall approach is a little bit half-assed right now.
So basically, if I hear you right, your position is that had Trump not intervened, had we not launched those bombing strikes, then Israel would have the freedom of maneuverability, the independence to call their own shots, to not, as you put it, Trump became their big brother once he blew up Fordo. And they could continue this operation. And if they want to take out the mullahs, finish this regime once and for all, so we're not back at it again in a couple of years, then Israel would be able to do it. But now that the United States took over the bombing and finished off these nuclear sites, Trump then had the leverage to tell Bibi, pull back when they were planning to take out the Ayatollahs, correct?
That's exactly right. So I don't agree with someone like Levin who wants us to do everything, right? Levin is like, bomb, bomb, bomb. If we need to do regime shame, let's do it. He's all in. And I don't agree with Tucker Carlson, who didn't want Israel to do it. My position is Israel was winning. Israel was doing a great job. We were doing a great job supporting Israel. It was brilliant as it was. Why did we have to stick our nose in there? And the Shaldag unit, this elite Israeli force, would have blown up every last ounce of that program. And who knows, after a couple more weeks of this, maybe they would have even provoked the situation to the point of achieving regime change without us getting involved. I mean, we were doing great.
I've got literally 20 seconds. Do you think MAGA can ever recover, reconcile? You call one guy a hooker, you call the other guy a secret agent of Israel and a traitor. Can they ever really make peace? Literally 10 seconds.
Look, they have to stop. I think at this point, if they stop now, they can...
If they... God forbid, Mike, you should have given it 2 more seconds. 617-266-6868 is the number. Okay, let me ask you. A, have you been following this feud? It's more like a bloodbath than a feud, but anyway, The back and forth that's been going on between Mark Levin, Sean Hannity is joining him as well, and Fox News versus Tucker Carlson, Marjorie Taylor Greene, and others, Steve Bannon as well, who have opposed Trump's decision to attack Iran and take out their nuclear sites. And now it's devolved into vicious smears, slanders, name calling. I don't think you're going to patch this up. Personally, I think, first of all, you've got a fundamental difference of opinion, an ideological split. But on top of that, you call, Hucker, Mark Levin called Tucker Carlson a happy hooker and someone who's back to abusing drugs and alcohol again and an anti-Semite and a Jew hater. How do you come back from that? And of course, he hit, Mark Levin saying he's a phony and a fraud and someone who's not really MAGA, whose allegiance is to Israel and Israel only. So basically accusing him of treason. I don't know how you come back from this, but this is now where we are. To me, can't we all just, not get along, but can we at least debate in a rational, civilized manner and actually make an argument? No, it's just destroy each other. That's what it is. It's who can deliver, the most bruising, pulverizing, nasty insult. And it's the politics of personal destruction. And what they're doing is, I don't think there's no glory on either side now. Now they're just burning each other to the ground. And in the end, for what? For what? 617-266-6868 is the number. Rick in Belmont. Thanks for holding, Rick, and welcome.
Hey, how you doing? Yeah, they're really upset that we're not going to go fight this war for Israel. So that's why they're attacking these people. They're attacking the real America First people. And it's pretty gross if you ask me.
So, Rick, I take it you're with Tucker Carlson and Steve Bannon on this and Marjorie Taylor Greene?
Really, MAGA has to really count their blessings that he didn't go in there with a full ground invasion, because that's what they wanted. And if he did that, then everything else stops. No deportations. Nothing else happens. It's all focused on the war and regime change. And they've been attacking Tucker. Anyone who even shows, 1% disagreement with anything that Israel wants, they attack them and slander them. So I think people got to wake up and see that maybe there's a little too much influence there. Look at the AIPAC money.
Rick, let me ask you, what do you make of Marjorie Taylor Greene saying that the attack that Levin launched on her, both on his show but also on X, is that of a psychopath? And the kind of threat that she says she gets, deadly threats or death threats every day, and that he should be fired, that he needs to be taken off the air. Essentially, she's saying he put a target on my back, and I won't be surprised if somebody assassinates me now or kills me now because of what Levin has said.
Because they have these Mossad people that run around and kill people, so she's probably right to be nervous. It's insane that any American has to worry about defending their own country. I mean, step back and look at the big picture, how crazy this is.
Rick, I don't want to, if you don't want to get too personal, I understand, but do you listen to Mark Levin? Do you watch Fox News?
No, I used to, but it's a neocon station. I mean, it's crazy. They all hated Trump. They wanted him. The only thing they want is they want this war. And if you're talking about who's the deep state, this is the deep state, the people that are pushing war. I mean, look at all those Tunnel to Towers commercials. Look at those guys that their faces are all melted. That's what you're going to get. We don't need to do that.
Rick, thank you very much for that call. I really appreciate it. All right, Rick is, you heard him. He's in the Tucker Marjorie Taylor Greene camp. Where are you? Where do you stand on this? Jack in Indiana. Thanks for holding, Jack, and welcome.
Thank you, Jeff. Hey, I want to wish you a early 4th of July.
Here it is. It happens again. Hold on, Jack. You sound like a robot. It's really the weirdest thing. So you sound like, like C-3PO or R2-D2 in Star Wars. Let's see if we can reconnect with you, Jack. Jack, how about now?
I want to wish you
now you're talking super fast. It's not you. It's the connection. Jack, let's try one more time. We're going to get this fixed, Jack. Jack, go ahead. The floor is yours.
I want to
wish
you and Ava and Ashton and Dr. Grace a happy 4th of July.
Thank you. Thank you, Jack.
Well, I want to ask you, I know you was the editor. Would you let that story go?
I'm sorry, Jack. Can you repeat that? I wasn't able to hear it.
When you was an editor at the Washington Times.
Yes.
Would you let that story go?
Absolutely not. Absolutely not. I would never. That story would never get inside the paper. Even in the back pages of the paper. No way in hell. No way. In fact, Jack, I'll be brutally honest with you. If I had a reporter that filed a story that thinly and weakly and unethically sourced, I would demand that reporter be fired. God is my witness. I would go right to the managing editor or the editor-in-chief and say, you call this reporting? And by the way, I don't know if you've heard, this just broke. The mullahs now have come out, or at least spokespeople for the mullahs have come out and said, I don't know what CNN is talking about. It's all been destroyed. 617-266-6868 is the number. Larry in Leominster messaged saying, Jeff, we're just watching multimillionaires fight. I'm sorry, but does seem to have that quality to it. I mean, it's just, these egomaniacs who are just who can throw the best insult at the other person. That's what this is now really degenerating into. Anyway, there is a little bit of information that's coming out from all the mudslinging. Tucker Carlson apparently claims that when Fox fired him in April of 2023, that the top brass, including some of the people who were on air, so despise and hate Trump that they were urging him to run because they believed he could carry the America First banner as well and knock off Trump in the primary. And so his argument is, don't believe what they say in public. He claims in private, they loathe him, they hate him, and they're just using him. So anyway, take it for what it's worth. 617-266-6868 is the number. Lisa in New Hampshire. Thanks for holding, Lisa, and welcome.
Hey, Jeff.
Hi, Lisa.
I listened to every one of these guys they're talking about. Steve Bannon's War Room, since it was War Room impeachment. So it's been forever. I listened to 2 hours of Mark Levin. I've never missed an episode of Tucker. My brain, I've been tweeting to them and messaging them for a week to grow up and cut the crap because we don't need the infighting. And Trump doesn't need it because these are all his allies. He trusts them. He listens to them. Steve was at the White House. Mark was at the White House. Tucker and Trump talk on the phone. They're friends. So it infuriates me that these are grown men that can't fight on the phone, that they have to fight in public. And this is what social media and podcasting has done. It's great because conservatives finally have a voice and we don't have to depend on mainstream media, but it brings out the worst in people. It really, truly does. And it breaks my heart because they're all right. They all have a part, like Grace said, Dr. Grace, that we all believe in. And it is all, for me, it's America first. However, I even put Trump right beside America First, because he's the only one guy who really is fighting for America. He created the movement. He changed the Republican Party. I'm not a Republican. I was born and raised a Democrat. I became an independent. I've never been a Republican. I don't like Republicans, but I despise Democrats. So these guys are all different kinds of Republicans. They're conservative. They're libertarian, which is more me. And they lean right. And Steve Bannon is a America First guy. So my heart breaks for Israel. My heart breaks that this small little country of 7 or 8 million people are surrounded by hate and live every single day knowing that they have to go into a bunker. So I think that Trump did what he did. First of all, I don't think Israel had the capacity to do it. They were asking for our help. So I disagree with Grace on that. But I think Trump wanted to do it to appease everybody. He never had any intention on putting boots on the ground. He doesn't want to go to war with the Middle East. He always said he didn't want Iran to have a weapon. So I think that he wanted to do it for people and to stop dying, so they would stop bombing each other. You know what I mean? He knew that he could do it in one swoop, which they did miraculously perfectly. So, and everybody, even Bannon and Tucker, they can't deny it. But they also believe that this is Israel's fight. I do too, but I also think that Israel needs a big brother, needs somebody to help them, to protect them, to worry about them, because they're alone in the craziest part of the world.
No, I hear you, Lisa. I hear you. And look, I think you're summing up the feelings of many in Kuner Country, because I know for a fact, because I get all the emails and text messages, a lot of people love Tucker. A lot of people love Mark Levin. A lot of people love Steve Bannon. A lot of people watch Fox News. So, you know, they're split. I get it. To me, look, and I thought Grace nailed it. I really do. Yesterday's show, not that I'm plugging my show, but I'm just being honest. You had people that agreed with Trump's decision and disagreed with Trump's decision. And look at how intelligent they were, how mature, how coherent, how civilized. You heard every side. You heard both sides. It was passionate, of course, a little heated at times, but, you know, it was intelligent. It was for adults. It was a serious discussion and debate and deliberation over whether Trump had done the right thing from a MAGA America First perspective. Now, how come, if this great audience can do it, these guys who are making millions and millions and millions, they can't do it? Like, I'm sorry, you can't make the case why you think Trump made a mistake without going on and, you know, spitting all over Mark Levin as an example and saying, well, he's owned by the Jews. Well, no, his loyalty is to Israel. He's not an American. He's a Jew. He's an Israeli. Okay. And that's so, you know, he wears a skin suit, as he put it. And you got the other guy who's literally, I mean, I don't know what to say. You know, this guy, he's a Nazi. He's an anti-Semite. He's a Jew hater. He's a happy hooker. So, it's, you know what it is? It's puh. Then the other side, puh. And that's all this is. Back and forth. And by the way, honestly, Larry's right. And they're all millionaires. All of them. They're all millionaires. So, do you care about MAGA? Do you care about the country? Do you care about whether it was a right decision? Like, we're only 6 months into Trump's presidency, his second term. We got a whole country to save, man. We got a lot to do. We got a lot of battles to fight. Now, we can have disagreements. We had it yesterday. We're going to have it many times. That's what, to me, a conservative and a patriot is. We have the First Amendment. We believe in to agree to disagree. Of course. But I'm telling you, you nailed it, Lee. They're like two kids. They're like, my Ashton and my Ava have more maturity. I'm being honest. That's why I said, you know, nobody's covering themselves in glory here. And you can tell they just don't care. After a while, you become so successful and you make so much money and you're so filthy rich and you've got, a lot of followers and you just don't care. But what they don't realize is the damage they're doing, honestly, to me, to civilized debate, but more importantly, to the country, to the movement, to the Trump presidency. You hate each other that much. What do you think? The left is laughing. That's what the Democrats and the media want. Bernie in Boston. Thanks for holding, Bernie, and welcome.
Jeff, this is your good friend Bernie Sanders calling. Jeff, let me tell you, okay? I got real trouble with what's going on, Jeff. Real trouble. I don't like this Marjorie Taylor Greene, first of all, okay? I don't think she's that bright. She's a couple fries short of a Happy Meal, and she looks like a bull. Now, Jeff, the people we need in charge are people like me. People like me. I will bring peace to the world, Jeff. What do you think?
Well, Bernie, let me ask you, how would you deal with the mullahs in Tehran and their nuclear program? What would you have done, Bernie?
I'd welcome all of them to the United States, Jeff. I'd make them citizens, and I'd give them 7-Elevens. That's what I would do. Okay? But I'm not going to change Jeff, I'm not going to change everything in one day. Believe me. I'd get rid of Marjorie Taylor Greene. Levin, I don't know about him. But I'm going to keep Kristi Noem, and I'm going to, who's that minx in Colorado? Lauren Boebert. I'll keep both of them because, Jeff, come on, eye candy. They could both make a bishop kick out a stained glass window. You know what I mean?
Bernie, we always appreciate it when you call in, my friend. Take care, Bernie, and good luck. 617-267. Bernie Sanders, my friends. 617-266-6868. Skippy in South Boston. Thanks for holding, Skippy, and welcome.
Hello, Jeff. You mentioned Sean Hannity. I get going when I hear about that guy. He is such a stooge for the, Matt Murdoch. He and Levin are like best buddies. They're simpatico. So whatever one says, they both go on. They're being told by Murdoch to go after Tucker Carlson. That's all it is. It's payback. They didn't realize how much viewers they were going to lose when they got rid of Carlson. So that, like I said, Hannity, he's so far off Murdoch's family run. He's a human colonoscopy. He is totally useless. And that's what you see. They're ganging up on the guys who, like you say, you can't be far right, you can't be far left. Donald Trump is not far right. I'd say he's in the middle somewhere because he always looks for the peaceful solution. And these guys don't want it. They want to go all out and just rave and walk towards war.
Well, Skippy, I have to say, to me, I don't mind if people disagree. That's fine. To me, that's life. But I got to tell you, this is unbelievable. This is, and you can tell that Fox has an axe to grind with Tucker Carlson. You can see the Murdochs now, they really want to take him out. And, and Tucker is, now he's launching his own salvos. So, look, I think MAGA, honestly, on this is broken. It's like Humpty Dumpty. I don't think you're going to put this back together again. Now, I'm not saying Trump's presidency isn't going to be successful. I think it will, because ultimately he embodies MAGA. He is MAGA in some sense. And I think the strength of his leadership and the strength of his policies, I think are going to speak for themselves. But really, I got to tell you, you look at these people in the so-called conservative media, it really is all about the money. It just is. And, again, we're becoming almost as bad as the left. I'm not including us, the show, or anything like that. But is this a way to argue? So is this what it comes down to now? It's like the left. That's what the left does. They call you a racist, or they call you whatever, homophobic or transphobic, and right away they shut you down. Now it's almost the same thing. You're an anti-Semite, or, you should be fired. So, now so basically lose your job. So that's what it comes. We're now being just as intolerant and vindictive and vicious as the left. Really, I'm sorry. It's just, I look at this and I'm like, guys, you should be ashamed of yourselves. Really. All right, let me sneak one more in. Skippy, thank you for that call. Who do you want me to go to, Mike? Becky in Oregon. Becky, I hate to do it to you. 1 minute. The floor is yours. Go.
Hi, Jeff. Thank you so much. Okay, I'm going to go. I heard a good one yesterday. This isn't why I called, but I want to say this. Okay, so you familiar with the abbreviation FAFO, right?
Yes. F around and find out. Yeah.
Yeah, they said it's the Trump FAFO foreign policy doctrine.
No, I could endorse that, Becky. I could definitely endorse that. Becky, thank you very, very much for that call. I really appreciate it. Look, trust me, this civil war within MAGA is not going anywhere. So anyway, we're going to continue to monitor it, talk about it. Kuner Country, honestly, the calls today, outstanding as always. I got to go. Bye-bye.